Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have a bunch of updates to share about Donald Trump's coup clown. So first, news about the biggest clown of them all, America's defendant, Rudy Giuliani. As you guys all know, Giuliani filed for bankruptcy because he was hit with that $148 million defamation judgment. And Giuliani's creditors are absolutely at the end of their rope because he has been less than honest and transparent about his finances. So they're having to dig up a lot of details on their own. And they just notified the court that they intend to subpoena the right-wing news network, news in quotes, Newsmax. They're also planning to subpoena or have subpoenaed Giuliani's longtime spokesperson and his political advisor. It's a guy named Ted Goodman. Also, they're sending a subpoena or have sent a subpoena to the 9/11 charity called Tunnel to Towers, which I mentioned recently. So Giuliani hosts two shows on Newsmax, and he's a guest on other Newsmax shows at various times. So Giuliani's creditors want all documents, all communication, they said, including, quote, any actual contemplated or proposed contracts or agreements, whether oral or written, formal or informal, concerning the production or distribution of uncovering the truth of the Rudy Giuliani show, business dealings, advertisements, endorsements, or any other sources of income, revenue, or other compensation for the debtor, which is Giuliani, any debtor-related person, or any debtor-related entity. And this part was really interesting. They wrote in this subpoena, quote, if any document responsive to these requests has been destroyed, lost, or discarded, state when the document was destroyed, lost, or discarded, identify the person who destroyed, lost, or discarded the document, and in the event the document was destroyed or discarded, identify the person who directed that it be destroyed or discarded. So that part, as you would imagine, that is related to the recent accusation that Newsmax's CEO destroyed evidence that should have been turned over to Smartmatic in their defamation lawsuit. So in regard to Goodman, Giuliani's spokesperson, the creditors are demanding all documents and communication from him regarding fundraising on behalf of Giuliani, also funds raised by Donald Trump, the Trump campaign, or the Republican National Committee. And they also want any and all contracts related to Giuliani's business dealings, again, advertisements, endorsements, blah, blah, blah. They're requesting also the documents from the 9/11 charity based on what I shared last week, that the nonprofit has reportedly been supporting Giuliani. They've been giving him somewhere around $15,000 a month. And they say, oh, it's because, 20 years ago, he helped us out. He promoted one of our fundraisers. So we'll see what happens with these requests and if they get any traction, if they get anything of value off of them. But in the meantime, Giuliani's attorney said that he might have 9/11 lung disease. And they're saying, this would limit his ability to earn a living. So his attorneys revealed this in a court filing, and they were responding to the creditor's request to appoint a trustee to essentially babysit Giuliani's finances. So as I mentioned, he's dragging this out. He's been less than honest. He's burning through cash like crazy. But Giuliani's legal team is arguing that, oh no, this trustee wouldn't be a good idea because they said it would add a new expense. And, it's not going to increase Giuliani's income. So we'll see what the judge decides. We'll see where that shakes out. Next is news about sloppy Steve Bannon. As you all know, Bannon was ordered to surrender for his 4-month prison sentence. They said July 1st, got to turn yourself in. Bannon has been full of all kinds of bravado. He's like, oh, I can't wait. I'm so proud to be serving as a political prisoner for the MAGA movement, blah, 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 all this BS. We all know Bannon is full of shit. So his legal team just filed an appeal. They're asking an appeals court to overrule the judge's decision on him having to turn himself in. So Bannon is asking, once again, allow me to remain free so that I can appeal the initial guilty verdict for the 2 counts of contempt of Congress. I just don't get it. I mean, he's so proud to be a political prisoner. Why is he fighting it? What's up with that, Stevie? Just surrender. Do it. Just do it, as Nike would say. Prove that you're not just all talk and no action. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that. Given how they handled the appeal for multiple appeals for Peter Navarro, though, it's not looking good for Three-Shirt Steve. Next up is news about my lumpy pillow man, Mike Lindell. A D.C. court denied Lindell's request to subpoena 2 government employees. So for some unknown reason, Lindell was trying to subpoena these 2 people to help him in his fight against the $1.3 billion defamation lawsuit filed against him by Dominion Voting Systems. Lindell attempted to subpoena these people. They were the former director of national intelligence, a guy named John Negroponte, I think is how you say it, and then also the Department of Justice attorney named Carlotta Wells. Lindell claims that Negroponte and Wells can corroborate statements that he has made about Dominion and their machines based on the word of another man who is completely unrelated to this lawsuit, a guy named Dennis Montgomery. So here's the backstory. Apparently, Montgomery did some computer programming work for the government, but this was decades ago. He claims that he developed software that can alter vote totals on electronic voting equipment. The government is arguing that no, Negroponte and Wells have absolutely no relevant information for Giuliani, and anything that they might be forced to share if they were deposed could be privileged state secrets. So the court agreed with the government. The court said in their ruling, quote, "In sum, Lindell has failed to establish the requested discovery is relevant to any claim or defense," and, quote, "as Lindell does not dispute Wells and Negroponte do not have any personal or direct knowledge regarding the allegedly defamatory statements at issue. The only potential knowledge that Wells and Negroponte possess is information from almost 20 years ago about Montgomery's work with the U.S. government in an unrelated matter." So I'm sure Lindell is going to appeal this decision if he can afford it. But yeah, I mean, okay, maybe some guy did come up with some technology 20 years ago. Are you telling me that they haven't figured it out since then, how to safeguard it? I mean, he has no direct knowledge about this election and Dominion machines in particular, and what happened in the 2020 election, specifically, involving Donald Trump. So it's like, okay, some random guy from 20 years ago had a technology. Okay, great. Well, look at cell phones from 20 years ago. They've changed quite a bit. Anyway, I will let you know if I hear anything new on that front. This just goes to show Lindell and the rest of the MAGA crowd, they are clinging to any and all comments, regardless of how irrelevant, how random they might be. Speaking of desperate, though, and desperate Trump lunatics, soon-to-be ex-attorney John Eastman was on a show. This was on Lindell's so-called broadcasting network, and he was encouraging Trump and his attorneys to file a Hail Mary pass with the Supreme Court. So Eastman called Trump's conviction a, quote, judicial lynching. And he is still peddling election fraud fairy tales. He is still warning that, we may never have another free and fair election in this country ever again if the Democrats are allowed to get away with this. And Eastman is also planning to appeal the California bar's recommendation that he be disbarred, which I shared with you guys recently. His recent statements are probably not going to go over well with the appeals judges. I'm just saying. I'm not a judge. I'm not on a disciplinary panel, but, I think they frown upon people who continue to push false statements and false allegations after they've already been told that they're false and they're losing their license over making those false statements. Just a guess. Anyway, I will let you know when I hear more. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.